Okay, let's say that you want to migrate to Chile, or let me give a better example, Japan, which is a quite homogeneous nation. They don't allow that many foreigners to settle. Well, in absolute numbers, there are hundreds, sometimes 1,000, 2,000 they admit, but they don't allow streams of migrants into Japan in general. Let's say you want to settle there. The immigration service will ask you in English, considering your background, what you intend to do in Japan. They also read your resume and they check whether you have a criminal record. Now, why are the Japanese authorities doing this? They want to be certain that they don't allow danger into their community. If you had a record, and on the record you were a shoplifter when you were in your teens, and the cases have expired decades ago, they may not bother with that. But if you had crimes related to money laundering, or rape or other forms of sexual assault, if you're a sex offender, for example, they may consider that you are not fit for Japanese society and they may decline your application for immigration. Well, if that was the case, that you had a criminal record with sex offenses on it and they decide you don't fit here and they would decline you, people would say that's correct. They did the right thing. They protected their community. Now, let's give another parable now. You have this father of yours that abandoned the family almost a decade ago, chasing his dreams, finding himself, as he claims, leaving you, your mother, and your siblings in poverty behind. Because he was the main breadwinner of the household. After a decade, when you are stabilized as an adult, you have your own place, and you have your job, suddenly your dad appears. He wants to get back to his family, and your mother accepts it, as if nothing ever happened. But you think, hold on a minute, where has this man been past 11 years? When he left, he was in a bad state, in an angry state against us. And now suddenly, after 11 years, he's so loving towards us. What happened to that lover of his? What happened to his new family-in-law? What happened to all his new friends? How did he make a living? He had an arrest warrant on him. You had so many questions, but your mother is so happy to see him back and willing to continue with their marriage. Some of your siblings also just get along because they're happy that the family is back together, even though you're all grown-ups now, having your own households. You're still happy that there is a family together. But you think, I don't take this. I don't trust this. Now, anyone that evaluates the situation carefully would find out that this man, this case your dad, only intended to return because he was out of money. And he realized his children are now all grown-ups, all have their own jobs, and he wants to be in your good favor so that he has a provision for his old age. He still has his girlfriends here and there that he meets and who hooks up with. So anyone evaluating the situation would say that you did the right thing. But in pagan Christianity, you have this counterfeit forgiveness that they teach you. It's counterfeit forgiveness. It's not real forgiveness. And in this counterfeit forgiveness, you have to forget everything the perpetrator did. You shouldn't even ask if the perpetrator repented or not. You shouldn't even ask if the perpetrator has forfeited his or her old ways. And you shouldn't even ask loyalty and dedication of the perpetrator to not be a perpetrator anymore and to comply with justice and the well-being of the community. You just throw things behind you as if it never happened and you focus on the comforts of the here and now. That's counterfeit, fake forgiveness. But that is the meaning a lot of people have when they hear the word forgive. And that's why a lot of folks think that they can't forgive because they have the wrong concept of forgiveness. In the parable of that dad that suddenly left, you had forgiven the man. You moved on. You reflected back continuously and you realized, I can't let this control me. I can't remain angry at him because it will be at my expense, but I can't trust him anymore. You were realistic and you really moved on. You really moved forward. Your siblings didn't. And your siblings now see you as a problem because you don't want to reconcile with your dad. But you point out to your siblings that it's quite weird that he suddenly reappeared and everyone just has to get along as if those 11 years and all the problems and headaches didn't take place. He reminded all his siblings of the hardships they endured after death suddenly dumped them. But to them, it is as if they didn't even knew what he was talking about. Look, pagan Christianity teaches you this type of forgiveness, which isn't forgiveness at all. This type of counterfeit forgiveness will harm you because this type of forgiveness will enable perpetrators and predators to remain close to you. Why do you think pagan Christianity is a safe haven for predators? Because predators can easily get away because people are taught to forgive. Sometimes they're taught to forgive, but they can keep their distance. But even the forgive and keep your distance gospel, as I call it, isn't really forgiveness according to the word. Forgiveness, according to the word, is your attitude out of obedience to Christ, in which you remain in goodwill towards everyone, but you don't walk in goodwill with everyone. Because you realize you can't walk in love with everyone. That is operating in a real biblical forgiveness. It's not that cheap garbage that pagan Christianity and the world in general teaches you. The world in general just wants to be left alone. They just want relief, so they want things to remain at ease, even if that ease is at the expense of many people. The reason I'm mentioning this is because I want you to be alert and safe. Me, nobody hoovers around me. No narcissist, no bipolar nut is going to hoover here, because I don't fall for it. And a thing called love bombing, a few months back, I began to think and I realized that folks used to love bomb me. I don't think that this happened all the time, but I remember there were occasions when certain folks love bombed me. I didn't know what love bombing was at the time, but when I found out what it was, my mind reflected back and realized, oh, they love bombed me. But for some reason, it didn't work. I saw through stuff. It's important for you to see through things. Look, I'm not saying you should be hostile towards people. I'm not saying you should remain on a war path towards people. No. You should get along with other people, even people that are contentious towards you, as long as you are safe and the safety of others are guaranteed. What pagan Christianity teaches you will endanger you. That's why you have a lot of predators active in pagan Christianity. And they devour the sheep, they devour the people, they devour the children. Don't you know that there are women that, after they become born again, they join those pagan churches, not knowing the difference between real Christianity and pagan Christianity. They join those pagan church, think they will find a husband that loves the Lord, and they end up with a predator that devours them in the name of the Lord. And they're even blamed for it by the pagan Christians and by the pagan church when it happens. Don't you know that there are men that prefer dating people of church, thinking they will find a better individual, and they end up with a monstrous narcissist that devours their finances and even threatens to kill them? Such things happen. Look, predators you have everywhere. Not everywhere in the sense that on every corner of the street you have a predator. I mean, predators you will find in every society and in almost every organization. Okay? But pagan Christianity enables and pampers predators by their twisting of scripture. Instead of enforcing Christ-centered justice, pagan Christianity enforces condemnation of anyone that does not agree and line up with the crimes of pagan Christianity. I'm telling you, don't let pagan Christianity nor pagan Christians blackmail you. I'm telling you, don't allow it. When you sense that it's not safe to relate to someone, then don't relate to that individual. If you have evidence that the individual doesn't add up, the individual doesn't add up. For example, just a very extreme example, let's say you had an uncle that sexually molested you, for example. You talked about it, and the relatives didn't care about it. You even reported it, but nothing was something to report. And now you're in your 30s, you're with your husband and your 2-year-old over there, and suddenly that uncle is there at a family meeting, at a barbecue. And you think these people knew what that man had done and still invite them to this barbecue where I'm coming with my husband? And your husband was furious that your relatives invited this predator over there. But then your father said, hey, be more Christ-like. God wants us to forgive and move on. Here's a problem. That predator, uncle of yours, never moved on. He has no intention of moving on. He just wants relief. Now he's getting older, but he's still the same predator. He has become worse over time. But if you're in the company of pagan Christians, likely they will choose his side to get validation that they're good pagan Christians. But they will leave the pagan part behind because they consider themselves to be real. Well, in fact, they are counterfeit. Just keep your eyes open. Agree with Christ.